Coming up on today's wrestling news, the latest on WWE's plans for the Usos, a huge Roman Reigns health update, a top star is done with WWE, and our major WWE cost cuttings coming. I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflet.
And this is the news. Double bloodline stuff to start us off, Hamflet.
With the twos.
These are the two stories.
These are the twos in the news.
We will get to my tribal chief, which we of course acknowledge here at WhatCulture in due course. But let's talk about the Usos because it's a bit up in the air about their plans for them. According to WrestleVote on X, they tweeted the following: hearing that at least one creative force backstage wants WWE to wait for WrestleMania to do the first Uso brother versus brother match. However, that is unlikely at this point, I'm told, with the feeling that 35 weeks, that's how far away WrestleMania 40 is too long of a stretch. Of course, Jimmy betrayed Jay, cost him the big title match and the whole being the tribal chief thing in the main event of SummerSlam. Now, these two, of course, have never had a singles match, but have spoken, we've seen it all over social media over recent days, have spoken about doing a match at WrestleMania. It does feel like with the show called Payback around the corner, it's fairly obvious that they might try and pull it off there. But can they have their cake and possibly eat it too? Is there an angle you see where, I don't know, maybe Jimmy takes Jay out of the picture for a prolonged period of time in that match to have, so he's like, well, we have the proper match at WrestleMania next year?
Possibly. Look, there's always ways to do the match to build a match. You set something up long down the road, but it's a really, really long way down the road. I liked how specific the WrestleVote's tweet was, or the X was. Is it even a tweet?
I don't know what you call it.
Not quite clear on it yet.
Post.
On the lingo, yeah. The WrestleVote's post specifying 35 weeks.
Jeez.
That's such a long time. If you consider that they stretch these Roman Reigns things out and he never wrestles on television, and he doesn't necessarily wrestle all the PLEs, that's 35 weeks of two wrestlers that typically wrestle every single week. That's really, really... Don't get me wrong, like, I feel like it's fairly easy to read between the lines here on, like, the creative forces at play. I'm sure you've got sort of very logical voices saying 35 weeks is ages, and then you've got somebody, I can't figure out who. Sir, may I suggest Jimothy and James is saved for the grandest stage? I can't work out who might be pushing that agenda, but I can imagine why they want this spectacle, and the Usos, to their immense credit, have worked to earn a bit of power and maybe a bit of say, and having a voice in that room for them.
Gone are the days where they do the hacker.
Indeed. Like, we are not playing hard in the paint anymore. But it's just so far away. Look, I think we're going to get onto Roman later on. I think it's hard enough right now to get Roman back to Cody.
Yeah.
With so little seemingly left in the bloodline. You know, big angle coming up on Friday, but it's a long way away. Cody and Dustin never got their match, did they?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so there's not, like... There's precedent with Brett and Owen, but less so in more recent times with getting these sibling rivalries to the show of shows.
Yeah, I don't know what injury angle you'd have to do to take Jimmy or Jay out of the picture, and it'd kind of have to be Jay, wouldn't it? Jimmy?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it might work in terms of, like, because if you have this blow-off thing at Payback, it's like, oh, what happens after that for the loser? Whereas if someone loses, but they lose because they've been hospitalised or whatever, and not really, obviously, we never wish that on anyone. Maybe, but again, so that happens. Let's say that happens at Payback. You've knocked off a whole, 4 weeks? So there's still 30-odd weeks till WrestleMania, and we've had a lot of bloodline talking on television. Yeah,
there's going to be another one this week. It could do a monster segment. It could.
It will.
Yeah, it'll do some sort of huge number. The story is bottom of the third. I don't understand the baseball.
Bottom of the ninth. I don't know.
Bottom of the ninth, the parlance that Paul Heyman used. But long story short,
on base is about like when you're getting a bit sexy.
Oh, the base.
Is that a different thing?
The ninth is the inning.
Oh, I never know.
But then I thought it was 10 innings, so bottom of the ninth seems to me that you'd be pretty. No, I might even got what his.
Just say Fergie time.
Yeah,
we'd understand that.
Or just be a bit clearer. 6 months left.
Yeah,
oh, thanks, Bob.
Can we have to roll it off at WrestleMania? What do you think this whole thing's been about?
It's a really good answer to the question. Appreciate that, and just pass it on to the next person and do a good job.
But let us know. Would you like to see Jimmy and Jay drag it all the way till WrestleMania next year? And if not there, where would you like to see the big blow off? Maybe it's in War Games. Who knows? But let us know in the comment section, and we'll move on now to my tribal chief, Roman Reigns. You may have seen the reports doing the rounds in the fallout of SummerSlam that Roman Reigns had gotten injured. There was even speculation I saw online yesterday about the specific moment where Jay does like a tope out of the ring and just sort of lands on Roman as to where that spot occurred.
Real, doesn't he? Like...
Not sure if that, no confirmation as to when that happened. But yeah, Roman was injured in the main event of SummerSlam. Yesterday morning, yes, it's Wednesday today, so Tuesday morning, Wrestling Observer reported that Roman Reigns had gotten hurt, but Fightful Select have come through with a new report confirming the news, but saying that he is still planned for SmackDown this Friday. What's the segment called again?
Hail to the Chief.
God, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like a good version of when Jericho used to be like, what's another word for meeting? That report obviously contradicts the claims that we aren't going to see Roman for a number of months on WWE TV. He's off getting his knob out on the island of relevancy. No, he's going to be on SmackDown this week. And despite the injury, reports claim that creative hasn't changed. Any internally scheduled events for Reigns have not yet been called off, although with everything involved in wrestling, subject to change. God, I hope he's not injured severely.
I don't, but it does feel less of an inconvenience than if he was working all the time.
Yeah. The next big match that you need to do is in, 35 weeks, I believe.
Yeah. Obviously, WrestleMania. I guess Rumble season would be a concern.
Doesn't, yeah.
They will have, you would like to think, have mapped out a couple of big moments for that character before WrestleMania.
Yeah, you'd feel he has to lose Solo Sikoa from his side before Mania 40.
I think so. There was reports, was it even before SummerSlam, that he was going to be off the next 3 PLEs? Like the earliest he would be back would be Survivor Series, and even that was only a maybe.
How are they doing Fastlane? We discovered this the other day.
Yeah, there's a Fastlane in the middle somewhere.
Fastlane, scheduled, we worked out, the furthest point possible from WrestleMania, either last year's or this year's.
Yeah,
No, this year's or next year's.
They're not afraid, obviously, to put these shows in based on the success they've had with these B shows this year.
Yeah.
But Roman Reigns hasn't necessarily needed to feature in all of them. I don't know,
Bring Fastlane to the UK, we'll have it, go on.
Yeah, people with UK, Puerto Rico, let's have a bit more for Fastlane and we'll make it good for you. More than happy to. It's one of them things, isn't it? Obviously when a wrestler, you never want a wrestler to get injured, ever. But the sum total of Roman Reigns' actions, all cynicism and sarcasm aside, is often standing there looking at stuff.
Yes.
Looking at people, sitting in his chair. Even he doesn't raise his own arm up. So let's say, torn his shoulder, that wouldn't even stop other people doing the acknowledgement. The worst thing that happened to Roman Reigns is a throat injury. Then he can't say, acknowledge me in all the different ways he does it, depending on the mood he's in. That would be the worst thing that could happen to Roman Reigns, and it's not that from what we're aware. So hopefully he's got the time to recover and it shouldn't change any plans.
Yeah, I think unless he loses all of his limbs in the time between now and WrestleMania, there is not an injury on God's green earth that will stop him from holding that title. People were saying, should he vacate the championship? And I was like, there it is. There's the worst way of booking the ending of this streak. You could book Karrion Kross to end it, and I'd go, that's better than if he just surrendered the title.
When you said about
imagine Cody finishing the story by just winning a tournament with no Roman in it. Oh, sweet.
That was vacant.
Do you know who he faces in the final? Rubber Chicken.
Book it. So, the rematch, the great WrestleMania rematch. When you said head of the table there and losing limbs, you made me think about one day how he'll be preserved. You know those statues they make in the Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah.
They just make his head and then they attach it to every WWE gimmick table. So all of them are breaking, but a Roman Reigns head falls on you, like the Taskmaster trophy.
Yeah.
That Greg James gives out, a bust of his own.
Jim
head.
Neidhart's going to be furious. I thought I had the table stuff locked down. Anyway. If you're still an avid member of the Bloodline, or our Bloodline as I call it, the subscribers, if you're not, press the subscribe button and ring the bell.
That's what we've always called you.
I'm a bit out of practice having yesterday off, so that was a bit of a tortured way of getting there.
Our Bloodline.
But Roman Reigns is still going to be appearing on WWE television. I'll tell you who isn't. Ronda Rousey. She got her ass handed to her by my fellow birthday person, Shayna Baszler.
I didn't know you were birthday buddies.
Yeah, me and her. 8th of August.
Got a great rec for you when we get back to the office. You need to see her in Elimination Chamber 2020. It is you'll love it.
There's a Twitter question about this later.
Okay.
Sorry, next question. But yeah, Ronda Rousey's not coming back anytime soon as we anticipated. We talked on Monday, I believe, me and Andy, about how Brock and Ronda were going to be taking time away after SummerSlam, which makes a lot of sense. But Rousey is kind of taking a step further on her Instagram page, saying that Shayna Baszler was the reason I got into how do you say it?
This business!
But she says, now I've got no reason to stay. So we may never see Ronda Rousey wrestling again. I do hope we do. I said this to Andy the other day. I don't want that match, as definitive as it was putting Shayna Baszler over to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be Ronda's last match, because yes, this second run has not been up to the par of the first one, but not many could have been.
No, true. You could take the last match with Shayna Baszler or many of the matches from this run and think, is that how she's leaving? It's just felt like there's been so few highs and predominantly all lows.
Ryan Satin had that high when she came out of the Rumble. That was a genuine reaction.
He definitely liked it as much as the video suggested. Definitely.
Wow, we had no idea.
What are you doing here?
When Anne Louise gave me this for my birthday, the only thing I'd asked for my birthday was this. She gave me a wrapped up package that clearly felt like clothing. Oh my God!
No way! It's a Man City shirt. I'm legitimately surprised.
You're getting football wrong.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say this: like, seeing as nobody's ever going to go back and rewatch that Rousey Baszler match, Shayna Baszler looked absolutely wrecked on Raw when she came out for that match with Zoe Stark, and maybe that's enough. Maybe the legacy of the match is something that can be spoken about rather than actually watched for evidence. Like, she was really banged up in that last MMA rules match. Was she? Yeah. Oh, should I check it out? No.
And maybe take my word for it.
Yeah, just there's other stuff to watch on the network.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think she should worry too much about it. And to be honest, it's like there are way crazier never say nevers in wrestling than Ronda Rousey coming back.
And if I sense they're just going to save it, maybe for Mania or maybe for just another big show in emergency break glass.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. It doesn't take any build.
It's always there, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the Seth Rollins, Finn Balor. Oh, he bloody wanted to get around to this. Well, why didn't you when you were here for so long? Anyway, but yeah, I think that's what they'll save it for. I just hope she gets one more big match, and for the crowd too, because I get the feeling towards her right now, and she's got differing opinions, let's say, on social media, but I do want her to have that moment of like, thank you, Ronda, because that stint to WrestleMania 35 is one of the greatest things I've ever witnessed.
So like more of a thank you, Ronda, instead of a thanks, Ronda.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some bad news to conclude on today's news stories with Hamflet, because, well, major cost cutting can be coming to WWE soon. You spoke a little bit about this yesterday, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but
the opposite of it.
Yeah, the other side of the conversation where apparently stories were backstage that people were feeling more relieved that these cost-cutting measures, these releases weren't going to come.
Well, surprise, sorry. Brandon Thurston, the brilliant Brandon Thurston, who doesn't get enough credit for all the fantastic stuff he does at WrestleNomics,
absolute legend,
has picked up on something from Endeavor's earnings release, where they wrote, transaction to combine UFC and WWE within TKO Group Holdings, that's the group name they're going to be calling the UFC and WWE thing, expected to close in mid to late September of 2023, so in about a month's time, effectively. On the call, Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel added that plans are underway to make cost savings and synergies happen immediately upon closing. That's a worrying phrasing.
Yeah. Ari Emanuel was the guy who, well, he's the top of the ladder, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's Vince McMahon's boss. And he
That's
was,
a weird
which is strange, isn't it? And he was the guy that pushed for Vince McMahon to be integral to the deal and all that.
He was wasn't he on the TV? The TV.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he's already kind of the ethical heel in this whole story.
I approve this man, and look at his mustache.
It's not great. Mergers, takeovers, company changes, like I've been a part of this.
Oh, God.
It's a real life reality that many of us face, and there's a lot of like trauma left behind, and it's something that up until now, like it seemed like it was going to happen immediately, then the story just went away, and I guess now is the time to hunker down. And if you're, and this is not just a wrestling thing, is it? It's a WWE and UFC like office worker thing, corporate staff, whatever. Like it just feels like it's going to be an edgy time for those people.
Yeah,
I've great to say I've been through similar situations. I imagine plenty of people watching this have, and I've got a lot of sympathy for that. It's a very, very difficult thing to do.
I can look back on it and laugh now, but I remember when I was part of one company and a big group came in to take over and had a big thing, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, are we all going to get fired? Are we all going to get fired?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Guys, I'd just like to dispel any rumours. Nothing is going to change in the very, very short term." And Monday, the week after, they were like, "Cool, so you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired."
I said the very, very short term meant this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I remember when I worked for Northern Rock, And I woke up and stuck the news on before just going out, having a bit of breakfast, and Northern Rock was on the news in total crisis. So it was like it hit the television and the BBC before I'd even got to the office that day. So when the boss are telling you, it's probably going to be all right, it's like, well, I was having a breakfast and me and 60 million other people in the country saw this.
Yeah, we all can watch the news.
When I walked into the head office, there was a queue of nearly 1,000 people outside the building who want to withdraw their money, and we're a bank. What's that about? What's that mean?
Where are the water coolers going? What's happening? I will say this though, just as a final note on this story, please don't campaign for wrestlers you don't like to get fired.
Yeah.
We don't like a variety of different wrestlers for subjective reasons, but we're never going to sit here and say, well, I'll tell you what, if you're doing cost cutting, this person should be first in line for the chop. It's their living. Be considerate.
Ugly behaviour, that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us on X. First question today comes from Stephen Daly. We've had this a lot, but I don't think I've actually asked you this. With WWE seemingly enjoying long title reigns for the WWE and IC title, who do you see as being the ones to beat Reigns and Gunther's streaks?
Cody Rhodes and Sheamus.
It feels obvious, doesn't it?
It really is as simple as that to me. Like, one of the great things about a long title reign, and we're in an era of them across both WWE and AEW at the moment, is that you want to have the magic of a big winner, like getting their huge moment, but you also kind of want to have an idea of who might do it. Like, you should always be building somebody in the shadows of this great reign who can be the one to take the title. It should have already happened at WrestleMania, but it's going to happen at WrestleMania.
Let it play out.
I've done the past and future tense there with Cody. And Sheamus is maybe I'm banging this drum, but they gave you everything there. They kind of showed you how close he could come, closer than anybody else against Gunther.
Yeah.
That's Sheamus' story. He has spoke at length about it being the one title he's never won. The losses, as is the case with a lot of Gunther opponents, have only almost strengthened his case, because when you see somebody come so close to climbing that mountain, you want to see them take that final step. And I just feel like it's still there, it's still hanging, and all Sheamus needs to do, and I mean, this is, 6 weeks worth of work, is get back to talking about the belt.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm happy, I'm fine, I'm coming closer to retirement as the years go by, but that one belt has evaded me, and beating Gunther has evaded me, and I need to, close those two doors before I can retire. And
I said this when we talked about it the other day, don't put your career on the line, because that just tells you the result, basically.
A little bit, yeah.
If not them, off the top of your head, who would it be if you're not allowed to have Sheamus or Cody?
I don't know.
Ilya Dragunov I'd have for Gunther.
Dragunov's a good one.
Because you're guaranteed a match of the year candidate, and it just, the story's right there, and you can even just retell it, even if you want to bring him in as part of Imperium initially, whilst fans go, who are in the no-go, what? That doesn't make any sense. But the story's right there. He joins, he eventually goes, actually, bollocks to you, I'm fed up you being your lackey, I'm going to come beat the shit out of you for your title.
It's a not insignificant concern that there feels absolutely nobody on the Roman Reigns level. I really like, genuinely, the prospects of Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Seth leans on this thing that he never lost in all those title defences. He actually beat Roman by DQ.
Yeah, Royal Rumble, wasn't it?
Yeah, and never got a rematch. And I don't hate that. Just based on tenure and Shield stuff and how Seth will believe he can do it, so you will too. You'll go along for that particular ride. He's the fourth babyface of 4 on Monday Night Raw in Cody, Seth, Sami and Kevin Owens, who have just been so integral to this last couple of years of people believing in good guys again.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I couldn't see him winning, but I could see buying it on the way.
Fairly obvious for me, if it's not Cody, the next person in line is right there. This whole thing has been quite rightly called cinema, so why not take from one of the greatest films of the past decade, F9, Family versus Family. I'm talking, of course, of the Bloodline versus goddamn family, Tony D'Angelo.
Of course, yeah.
If not him, Rick Boogs. Mark Smith gives us our next question. Morning, boys. Morning, Mark. Who is the next Karen to join Chelsea Karen Green whilst Sonia is off recovering? Wishing Sonia all the best. Yeah, awful news about injury. Get well soon, Sonia Deville.
Aye, rubbish. Chelsea Karen Green. I never thought about that. In Friends, Rachel's middle name is Karen, so she's Rachel Karen Green. That's quite nice. I got one for you here.
Go on.
So on Raw, Becky Lynch was digging into Zoe Stark for saying, look, you've taken the shortcut rather than the right way, and when Trish is gone, when I run her out of town, then what? I'll tell you what, she joins up with Chelsea Green as an ass-kicking friend. She does the complaining and then she does the paining, because what's Zoe Stark got next? She's had a really great start to life on Raw, but presumably Trish will go away, and there's absolutely no harm in kind of like picking up the slack for a tag team that were just becoming established. She gets a belt sort of by default, but gets to fight for it because she kind of kicks ass.
Yeah.
Like, she's one of the stronger women they've got on that roster, and right now, Rhea Ripley has her hands full with, well, Raquel, Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell. Like, she's got more than her share. So, and Becky Lynch looks like she'll go on to feud with Shayna Baszler. Zoe Stark suddenly feels like an odd woman out. Slot her right in.
I like that. I also quite like Valhalla as a Karen.
That's, I could, yeah.
Or, if you're gonna let me do proper fantasy booking, make them a trio and bring back the Iconics!
That is very good.
They would work so, oh my God, they'd work so, just free Karen rule.
Last pitch. Seeing as he's done it so many times in the men's division, let's see if Chad Gable can save a women's tag team and coach, and not just like, so you think, oh, like, Maxine Dupree's going to be a Karen. No, Chad Gable's going to make Chelsea Green like a wrestling machine. Chelsea Green, the wrestling machine.
Great.
And Gable does it again.
Pranav gives us our final question. Morning, Pranav. I'd quite like Shayna's booking on Raw this week, but are they trying to rehab her as a gutsy face? I'd much prefer they build her back into the deadly killer that took a bite out of Becky's neck and dominated the chamber. Yes, Pranav. What do you think?
Both.
Okay.
It was a gutsy performance to get through on Monday.
Aye, man.
Bruises and the arm hanging off and all that sort of stuff. But then they teased out the return to the Becky Lynch story that never really felt finished, did it? Becky shouldn't have won at WrestleMania. Nope. Vince McMahon's obsession with the vampire bite element of Shayna Baszler's character, which of course we all loved on NXT, was so dumb and stupid. And look who's got the wheel now. It's the same man that had it when Shayna was class on Black and Gold the first time. She will be more liked than she was because there's tenure and there's a bit of history. However, you just make her a killer at the same time. Yeah. Shayna needs not to have any prejudice towards whose ass she's kicking, but I do genuinely believe that's the route they take. I think she's going right the way back to the top, and Shayna Rhea Ripley, for the first time in a long time, possibly since they won that one Wednesday Night War, feels like the move long term.
I agree. You could make her a sort of, this is going to be a very niche reference, Paul Craig figure. Paul Craig's this brilliant Scottish MMA fighter who is hugely over, quite rightly so, incredibly talented individual. But the amount of times in his fights, he'd be getting his, well, there was certainly one I watched, he was getting his ass handed to him for 3 rounds, and then right at the end just went, tap or snap, mate. I'm gonna break your arm.
Yeah.
So he was just a submission machine. I love me some Paul Craig, and yeah, I just like the idea of oh well, you think you got me beat because I've got a black eye and I'm I could just snap your arm out of nowhere. Yeah. So, but yeah. She's really good after the Elimination Chamber 2020. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that before.
She's got the world's baddest slam as an additional finish now as well. So
eventually, when she hits it.
Yeah.
I was a bit I was like, come on. But I love me some Shayna Baszler, and I'd have her win a world title. Maybe not Rhea's, but
Roman Reigns'.
There we go.
Let's go.
Complete it. Let us know your thoughts on everything in the comment section below, as I said, and make sure you check this video out. We'll see you soon.